All right, so welcome to today's live stream. This live stream, my name is Lila Schwartz. I've been teaching yoga for 42 years. I'm an author, certified yoga therapist, and today's topic is going to be excess tone in the anterior core muscles and how that influences our back pain and what it means for you. So we're going to start pretty quickly today working on the floor, and I'm a little bit of a handicap because my phone just did something I didn't know how to fix, but I think you can see me down on the floor over there. Okay, so we're going to go to the floor and we're going to start with some curls. So we're going to start with alternate knee to chest. So I'm going to lie down on the floor and just start with alternate knee coming in and releasing. And releasing, just to warm your hips up and get familiar with your pelvis. And then we're going to take it with a little bit more intensity. So arms overhead, inhale. Exhale, curl up, bring the knee towards your chest, but don't grab it. And then inhale, exhale, changing sides, and repeat 10 times. Inhale, release, exhale, contract. Inhale, release, exhale, contract. And continue in this manner. And notice how the abs are working, where they're working. If you feel it in your neck, notice what you feel. And go to the point of mild fatigue so you can feel it all through your abdominal region. And then pause and rest. Take a nice deep breath. Soften your belly. And then we're going to go to the next core exercise some of you might be familiar with. And you're going to put your fingertips on the side of your head. And this time we're going to do a diagonal touch. So we're going to curl up and touch the right knee with the left elbow. Release back down and change and do the opposite side. And down. Again, 10 times. And some of you who do abdominal work on a regular basis, this might not be too big a deal, but for some of us, you can really feel the work, and you have to use your breath. And then rest. Again, lower your arms, pause, take a smooth inhalation and exhalation. Feel your heart rate, slow it down. And so this beginning set is looking a little bit like a Pilates class. So put your hands down beside you, pressing them into the floor. Bring your knees into your chest. And you're going to stretch your legs straight up toward the ceiling. And then I want you to curl your head and chest about 1/3 of the way up. So curl up. And then lower one leg. And back up. Not all the way to the floor. Hover. And back up. So this is the abdominal work. The rectus abdominis. The psoas muscles. Building that tone. And then bend the knees and head down and rest. And pause, take a smooth inhalation and exhalation. And we're going to do one more abdominal floor work. So we're going to extend the legs up toward the ceiling. Nice extension in the knees. Take the legs apart. And crisscross, and then apart, and cross the opposite leg in front. Apart, and crisscross your legs. Apart, opposite cross. Continue 10 times. And then again, pause, bring your feet to the floor, stretch your legs out, and take a smooth, deep breath. And I want you to feel how the muscles of your top thighs and your abdomen are waking up, having contracted, and what that feels like. And then roll to your right side and come up to a sitting position. And we're gonna, I have a couple little hand weights here. So these are 2-pound hand weights. And if we wanted to build some muscle tone and other types of activity, you might find yourself doing squats with some weights in your hands. So just activating the lower abdomen, going down and back up, and down and back up. And in this, feel the work in the quads, feel the work of the hamstrings. Perhaps you might feel the work in the spinal muscles. And one more time. And what I want you to feel with this little exercise is what it's like in your body when everything in the front of your body, your quads, your psoas, your rectus abdominis, become contracted. So that's what I want you to kind of feel for that. And now I want to talk with you a little bit about that. So often I'll have someone come to me for back care who actually does a lot of classical Pilates where they're just heavy ab work, or they're doing recumbent bicycling, which is kind of like alternate knee to chest, and there's a lot of contraction in the front body. Or they might be doing some sort of weight training with squats, as I just demonstrated. And all three of those create their own imbalance in the body by shortening the front body too much and not giving enough tone to the back body. So how do I want to show it to you? I want to show it to you. If, when you walk, you have a nice pitch right here in the front, like an angle in the front, your thighs are slightly forward, and there's an angle in the front and the belly drops down, it's a sure sign that your psoas is too short in the bottom, that your quads are too tight. So doing a lunge, you're going to have to learn how to open the front enough that you can actually lift the bottom of the belly and flatten your clock face while your top thighs stay back. So you have to find out how to anchor yourself in this way and make the pelvis steady. So if I were doing yoga from a chair, and I do this sometimes with people with extreme back problems, I would drop the knee down toward the floor, and what you'd notice is that the knee is forward of the hip joint. Right, I have to back up just a tiny bit. There, that's better. That the knee is forward of the hip joint. So if the psoas is really long, I should be able to drop my knee straight down and flatten my clock face and make this bottom part flat so that it shows that clear extension in the front of the leg. Okay, so that's something you can do sitting just to become aware. But then we want to actually do that standing up. And how we're going to do that standing up, this is from a 1960s. There was something called the San Francisco Back Stabilization Program. And the way they addressed a short psoas and weak lower abdominals was with a squat. But the squat looked like this. Your toe is curled under in the back foot. You bend, you got to reach back a tiny bit. The knee is dangling toward the floor like this, hanging straight down. And you pull your belly back, flatten that clock face, and then you start to squat and come back up. Now don't go fast. Go slow, go down and up. See if you can keep the horizontal width of the pelvis so you don't have one hip turning in when you go down or the knee turning in when you go down. Keep the knee straight ahead. Tail down, skin of the pubis up so the clock face is flat, and you can have your hands on your hips to find out. And go down and up, and down and up, down and up. One more time, down and up. And you can probably feel it pulling in some interesting places in your quadriceps. So now let's do the other side. So the rear heel should be up off the floor somehow so that your knee can bend all the way. So the knee has to be bent in the back leg. And then flatten the clock face in the front and level the hips so they're even. And then go down and back up and down and up and down and up. And you'll notice that as you go down, your belly wants to get soft, so pull it in. And as you lift back up again, you should feel the glutes kind of fire in the back. There should be some support there, going down and back up and down and back up. And then rest a minute. Okay, so that's one version. And I have a slightly simplified psoas release. And I'm going to use this cork block. And I'm actually going to stand on it with one foot. And then with that standing with one foot, I'm going to level my hips side to side, flatten my clock face, and hold it flat, and then ever so lightly swing the leg. Now this is a dangling leg that doesn't disturb 3 o'clock and 9 o'clock. They stay nice and even. So you want to watch yourself sometimes in the mirror and find out when you swing the leg, are you trying to swing the leg? You think that's what I mean, swinging, but my pelvis is swinging, and that's not what we're looking for. We're looking for stability in the pelvis, solid strength and support, and then just a light dangle of the leg. Just dangling back and forth, right? Just a nice easy dangle, and then step down and just walk a couple steps. So I'm walking out of the camera and back in front of the camera again. Just walk a couple steps and feel how that changes the sensation of one leg, how that leg hits the floor, how the leg swings in the hip joint. And then let's go to the second side. So again, leveling the hips front to back, dropping the tail, lifting the skin of the pubis, flattening your clock face, dangling the leg, and just a nice easy swing back and forth. Keeping everything as steady as you can keep it. And then step down, and again, walk a few steps and feel. Just notice the difference in the legs and how they swing back and forth. All right, very good. So that's the beginning of sort of unwinding the psoas. And what I want to say to those who are watching on YouTube is that in the show notes below, there is a link to a free 5-day psoas release package that I have on my website. It's free. Go ahead and get yourself that set of videos because it's a deeper release of the psoas muscle and you can have some fun exploring your psoas more deeply. I also have a course. It's called Mind, Body, Back Care Beyond 50, and I'm releasing it this month as an introductory course, and there's a link for that in the show notes also. And that is a 6-class, they're 35-minute classes, progressive, for taking care of your back, for understanding how to work with your spine and your hips and take care of your back as you go forward in time. All right, so let's go on. Here's the educational part of the class now. So this is a picture of a spine. And when you look at the picture of the spine, there's a cervical curve, a thoracic curve, a lumbar curve, and a sacral curve. And if we studied it a little more deeply, what we would notice is that the curves of the spine are actually part of the structure, meaning that no two vertebrae are the same. They're all unique to their position in line. So every vertebra has a slightly different structure so that the curves of the spine are balanced. And that's something that happens when the curves get lost that compromise how our back feels. And when people lose their lumbar curve, and I'm going to show you, you have to pretend these are two vertebrae stacking on top of each other. Just thought of this today, and I have to get a better prop, but for today this is good enough. So if these are two vertebrae and there's a disc in between, just imagine them touching, and if they're supposed to have a curve, but the anterior, that side, the anterior is too contracted, it's going to pull and smush the disc and smush the vertebra. So sometimes the vertebra ends up getting bony spurs on it from too much anterior pressure, and the fascia and the muscles on the back side that are supposed to be a lumbar spine, the curve is supposed to be going that way, not that way, become weak. They get weak back here and it really hurts because you get this pressure in the front. And that's what happens when people, any movement we do can be a repetitive movement. So if you do lots of crunches every day, or you spend an hour on the recumbent bicycle, bicycling like crazy, you're doing repetitive movement, and you've got to counterbalance that movement by doing something else. Otherwise, what you've got is you've got a narrowing in the front of the disc spaces and a smushing down. And that causes problems because it doesn't take much to start pinching the nerves. Then you wonder why your back hurts and why you're getting numb down your leg. How come the back of the knee feels numb? How come the ankle feels numb? It's coming from in your spine. It's either coming from L1, T12, or somewhere along that lumbar line is typically where the problem is. So we want to balance our practice front to back, yes? Okay. And so we did two of the poses. Now I want to go back and do a couple more. Okay, so we're going to start with Virabhadrasana 1 with the foot on a chair. So let's go ahead and grab a chair and bring it to the mat and open it up. I'm just checking here. Okay, looks good. And stand maybe a foot or two away from the mat. So we're going to do a standing lunge, and we're going to use it with our foot on the chair. And the reason for that is, if you do have a really tight psoas and quad complex in your body, getting the extension on the leg is difficult. It's very challenging to get that extension. And when you have I have my toes turned out in a little wedge, and then I'm going to put my right foot up, and you'll see how close I am to the chair. I'm not really far back. This is going to help me keep my clock face in place so I can lift the skin of the pubis, drop the tail, press down into my heel, and then using my hands on my hips, I can lift my rib cage up out of the pelvis, which in essence lengthens and decompresses the sides of the body. And then I'm going to bend the knee without bending the back knee. So keep the back knee, the standing knee, very firm, and go in and come out. And if you also keep the bottom of the belly pulled back toward the spine as you bend the front knee, you should feel your glutes flex. There should be some flexing of your gluteus muscles. So when you go in a little bit and hold it, press down into the heel, lift the belly, and see if you get some flexion in your glutes Try and make that happen. Sometimes it's easier to find than others, but do the best you can. And then out you come. And we'll change and we'll go to the other side. So again, pressing down into the heel, straightening the bottom leg, dropping your tail, lifting the skin of the pubis, bringing the bottom of the belly toward the spine and holding it firm as you bend in and out. Again, you can use your hands on your hips to lift your spine up and bend in and out and in and out, observing as you go in, keep the weight to the back edge of the heel, and lift the bottom of the belly, drop the tail, so that you find that glute flexion again, and then hold it a little bit, and then exhale, out you come. Okay, very good. So there are progressions. Any yoga pose can be broken down into smaller parts, and we can build it back up gradually according to the need of the person practicing. But now let's go ahead and do it free form on the floor. So standing toward the back of your mat with your heels together, take an easy stride forward. Now, sometimes if the psoas is really short or the sacrum is out of balance, this could be your best stride, 12 inches, to keep that flat and just bend in and out a little bit and sort of open up the tightness in the front of the leg. If you can go a little further forward, great. Weight to the outside edge of the rear foot, lift the bottom of the belly, level your clock face as best you can, bend the front knee any amount but not the back knee, and then raise your arms up and use your arms. You can interlace your fingers even and use your arms to pull your spine up out of your pelvis so you get some nice extension on the lower back. And then if you can keep the rear leg straight, you can go a little deeper. And keep that leg straight and the gluteus firm. And then out you come. And we'll do the other side. Okay, weight to the outside edge of the rear foot. Drop your tail down, lift the bottom of the belly. Turn your hips any amount to face front. And then begin to bend the front knee without losing the stability of the pelvis. Straighten the back leg, weight to the outside edge of the rear heel. Inhale, take your arms overhead and lift your spine up out of your pelvis and bend a little more and hold and see if you can flex that glute by adjusting the position of your pelvis. Get that glute to flex. There you go, and out you come, and back to center front. All right, nice practice. We're going to do one more pose. We're going to do it lying on the floor. So grab a blanket. So mostly what we've done now is just a lot of work to stretch and open up the front, but now we're going to do a pose specifically to really tone the back. And I'm going to see if I can angle this camera up just a tiny bit. There. Okay, so here we go. Lying on the floor. Place your hands beside your chest. Curl your toes under, lift your knees. Squeeze your tail down. And then lightly roll your shoulders back and just lift part way up, just the chest. Feel how the lower spinal muscles are contracting. And then draw the hands back towards your feet as if you were trying to pull the mat, but the mat doesn't go. Squeeze your tail down and come down and rest. Pause, take a deep breath. Soften your belly, soften your spine. And then we'll go again, lift the legs up, squeeze the tail, shoulders back. This time see if you can lift your hands off the floor and hold it. So this is not only good for spinal strength, it's good for bone density. Not just muscular strength, but also bone strength. And then down you come. And wait, take a breath. And then bring your hands and slip them underneath the front of your hips, just below the hip bone. So you have a little support there. Again, curl your toes. Lift your knees up. Squeeze your tail down. Shoulders roll back. You're not lifting very high, just roll your shoulders back. And then alternate legs. Lift the left and the right, like you're walking backwards. Left and right and left and right and left and right. And then rest. You can turn your head to the side if you'd like. Soften the lower back. And I would repeat this at least 3 times to get some tone to the 2 sides of your back and your buttocks. And then finish up by pushing up, taking your knees apart, nice and wide, and just release down. Rest your elbows, rest your head, rest your spine. And for those of you who don't fold easily into a position such as this, if you don't go back that far and your hips only go back so far, you can just bring your elbows and your forehead down. The idea is to make your spine like a little bit like a ski jump. So don't make it like a turtle. Make it like a ski jump and let the belly soften. Let the spine soften and release. Yeah, so whether your hips are high or low, as long as the spine is fairly neutral. And then slowly push yourself up to sitting. All right, so that's a quick review. Remember to tone the back body. Doing yoga, living a good life, is to have harmony in your function. So front, back, side to side. Find those poses that you never do and bring them back into your practice. Thank you for watching. Check out the links below, and I'll see you next month. Namaste.